Hey boys and girls, how you doing? It's the Service Man with another Service Station Presents SOBs. And today's SOB is you, Carolyn Lawson. Have you ever been called an SOB before?
Probably.
We have another service-obsessed business today, Chameleon Custom Solutions. How did you guys come up with that name? I really like it.
Well, we wanted our customers to change the way they were doing things and use vibrant color. So if you think about chameleons, there's
Right.
vibrant color and they change.
Because you were bored printing the same tan and white.
And printing things that I knew would never get the success that our clients needed them to get.
Wow. You're the first person I've ever heard, other than me, wanting their clients to change the way they do things. That is awesome. How long have you had this company?
We started in April of 2007, so it's about 8 years old, actually 8 years old.
And what did you do before that?
Well, I've pretty much been in printing my whole career.
Okay.
So I started my career at R.R. Dowling,
Uh-huh.
and then I moved from there, and there I did all kinds of things, but mostly on the financial side.
Right.
And then I had an opportunity to start a print-on-demand facility, when print-on-demand was very new.
Right.
I won't tell you how new, because it'll date me.
1.0.
And then I left there and went to a smaller printing company where I did international sales.
Oh, okay.
And eventually went to a company in St. Joe, Michigan, who had all the bells and whistles, but they weren't customer friendly. And
There's a lot of that going around.
it bothered me. In my role, I didn't feel that I could deliver what I said I was going to deliver.
Right.
And I didn't feel that I could deliver things that I felt would be effective.
Right.
And so I made a decision that if it bothered me that much, then I should do something about it. And I invested my own money and started my own company.
Wow, I like that. That's awesome. Good for you. Good for you. I have a similar story. The reason I came up with selfservicesucks.com is because I have clients that are obsessed with fixing their own technical problems, even though they have absolutely no experience whatsoever in any of that stuff. So, over the years of trying to help people and be a service-obsessed business and give them the best service possible, I had to figure out a way, how do I get these people to stop? Because I don't get the phone call until they've destroyed the computer. Like, the first window pops up, I don't get the phone call then. I get the phone call after they, smash the computer and do all these crazy things to it. Hey, now can you fix it? No, now I can't fix it. This would have been so much easier an hour ago. So it's really refreshing to hear somebody, other than me. Because when you never hear anybody else say or do something, you start thinking, well, maybe I'm crazy, But when you hear somebody else say something, you're like, well, okay, maybe I'm onto something. That's really cool to hear that. I have some of your stuff here right here. I really love, this thing is beautiful. Who came up with this? You?
Actually, my design team came up with it. And I have a design team. Design is really critical to our business.
Right.
And having the right designers, people underestimate if you don't have good design, then nothing else matters.
Oh, yeah.
And so we spent a long time trying to find what we felt were great designers. And I would say today we have I put my designers up against anybody here in Tampa.
Nice.
And they usually get it right first time.
Wow. Did you guys hear that? She said that.
I said it.
That's cool. And you're absolutely right. We're having a conversation. I was having a conversation with a client this morning that wants a very simple website redesigned to do something completely different than it's doing now. So, I had to educate the client. I said, well, we can take this WordPress template that you're using and shoehorn what you want it to do and fight with it, and then maybe arrive at something that that you would really like. Or we can just start with something that was designed with that purpose in mind, and then you'll end up with something magnificent. So it's kind of the same, philosophy, thought processes, and that and the other. If you start with garbage, you're probably going to end up with garbage no matter what you do.
Right.
So, has the company's name always been Chameleon?
The company's name has always been Chameleon. We spent about 3 or 4 months trying, when we decided to start the company, actually my son and I, trying to come up with a name that would reflect what we felt was really important.
Right.
And, at the time, and still today, people will say, well, printing is not effective. Well, that's not true.
Right.
Some printing can be very effective.
Right.
And so we wanted Chameleon because, again, most of our pieces that are driving a client to do something is brilliant color.
Mm-hmm.
It's targeted.
Right.
So we're very clear about who we're going after. We use great design, a great offer, and a good list, and we get great results.
Awesome.
Our customers are getting good return on investment.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It's funny too, because we live in a world today where everyone thinks everything is internet. I don't think so. I think it's a hodgepodge of. It's. No matter where we go, everything is always the way it's always been.
Mm-hmm.
Like nothing changes.
Right.
Okay, radio's losing, listeners, TV's losing listeners, whatever's losing whatever. But it just, whatever the new version is just a copy of the old version. Like it's not like there's, these major changes. It's not really like that. Back in the day, if you did all your advertising on radio, TV, well, now you do all your advertising somewhere else, but you still have to use radio. You still have to. People still watch TV. People still listen to radio. People still read the newspaper, believe it or not,
Well, and I think you make a really important point. What we believe is that it takes about 10 touches
right.
for a client to become familiar with you and willing to interact with you. So,
and that's if you don't screw one of them up.
That's
if you don't screw one of them up.
So printing is one of those avenues.
Right.
And we certainly encourage our customers, and I think that's what I would say makes us different than many of our print competitors. We realize that printing is one of the components, but there are other components that are equally important.
Right.
And so we work with our clients to make sure that they, one, have a complete strategy, know which components they're going to use, how and when they're going to use those components. And again, really discourage them from taking a step if they're not ready to do it right.
Right.
Because my experience is if they do it wrong the first time, they're never going to do it again.
Sure.
So it's amazing how many customers I come upon who are willing to spend lots of money without ever testing it.
Wow.
And, and then of course, even when we've designed things, and I would again say that I've got some of the top designers. Even with great design, some pieces will work better than other pieces.
Yeah.
So I encourage our clients to test first. Do a small quantity and see what the results are. And then we can make tweaks if necessary or do a different piece. We know which one's going to get results. But it's amazing how many clients will just come and say, oh, I want to print 50,000 pieces. Well, have you tested it yet?
Right. Well, and that's awesome that you say that because it sounds like the service is more important than the check, which, strangely enough, you get more checks with the better service. Like, I don't know why it's so hard to figure out.
Well, I think that first, when I tell a customer not to do something, and they realize, look, she's telling me not to spend my money with her right now.
Right.
Most of the time they listen. I've had some that don't.
Sure.
And of course I want them to be successful.
Sure.
But oftentimes when I've suggested that they do something different, because I think I have more experience than they do.
Just a little.
They'll come back and say, you were right. Well, I'm more likely to have that client for the long haul than if I let them mail it and I don't say anything to them and I know that it's not going to work.
Yeah.
So for me, it's really being in partnership with my clients
Right.
and making sure that it does work. And for us, it's not just when it goes in the mail.
Right.
Once it's in the mail, we're following up with our clients to see what the results were.
Right.
Did you get what you were looking for?
Well, and that's a losing proposition for you anyway, to take someone's money when you know that it's not going to work. I mean, you don't have a crystal ball. There's no way you can know what everyone's going to react to, because everyone reacts to everything completely differently, and you're trying to get something that just fits in the middle there. But to have the courage to say, I don't think this is the right direction, or maybe we should test. We have the same problem all the time when we do a website. People still to this day have it in their mind, I'm going to put up a website and people are just going to beat down my door with business. And we tell them, if we'll build you the most beautiful website you've ever seen, but if you plan on never touching it again after it's up, don't bother. You're wasting your money, because really the website is like the brick and mortar with nothing in it.
Right.
Okay, you got the building. Now what? There's that expression, if you build it, they will come. Yeah, only if there's a reason to come. If you just put up the store and there's nothing in the store, people might come check it out once, stick their head, hey, there's nothing in the store, and never come back,
Or if you don't change
right.
the store,
yeah.
if you paint the store today and 20 years later the store looks the same,
right.
People, if they go there, they're going to go, oh, okay, well, they haven't done anything in 20 years.
Right.
So a lot of times, even with social media, if you're not going to keep it up,
right.
then it's great if
right.
you're going to use it and keep it up.
Right.
It's a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing if you're going to use it and keep it up. It's a curse if you're not.
Right.
Because then people go and say, well, they haven't done anything for 5 years.
Right.
So
last update 2011. What? Yeah, you're right. So give me a little bit of background about you as an individual, as a person, a little bit of backstory, whatever you're willing to share.
Well, I've had an interesting career.
Mm-hmm.
I would start by saying that I have always been able to take my obstacles
mm-hmm.
and turn them into successes.
Okay.
So starting when I was in 5th grade, I realized I didn't know how to read, and it was quite alarming to me. I had switched from a public school to a private school, and it was like my first or second day in class when the nun asked me to read a paragraph after maybe 10 other children had successfully read theirs,
right.
and I couldn't read mine.
Right. I still can't read. Don't feel bad.
So I was so humiliated from that experience that I went to the nun, and she agreed to tutor me at night. So my mom and I walked about 3 or 4 miles every night for me to get tutored.
It wasn't uphill in the snow both ways, was it?
It was uphill in the snow both
wow.
ways. It was in Chicago.
Oh, it's cold there.
But I tell you that I became passionate about education as a result of that.
Right.
I never wanted to be humiliated again.
Oh, yeah. Humiliation is a strong motivator.
And so by the time I was in 8th grade, I was
right.
at the top of my class.
Nice.
And academically, from that point on, I've always been at the top of my class. So then that kind of spilled over into my career. I've been in printing most of my career,
right.
which is unusual for an African-American woman. If you think about that, if you think about 40 years ago,
right.
Printing was definitely a male white business.
Right.
And so I suffered through a lot of challenges being in the industry. But, what doesn't kill you will make you strong.
Or kill somebody else.
And so my tenacity, I wanted a position at the world's largest printer back 20 or 30 years ago.
Well, you don't set goals high or anything, right? You just keep them right on the...
And when I asked for the job, which I had gotten all outstanding reviews prior to
right.
me asking for this job, they told me no.
Wow.
And basically they said, well, we want people who have a master's in this department. Well, I was a little frustrated because no one in the department had a master's at the time.
Right.
So I decided, rather than walk away with the no, that I was going to push a little harder and agree to get the master's.
Awesome.
Which I did. And my plan was simply to get a master's so I could get the job.
Sure.
But when my boss realized that I was determined to get this job,
Right.
he suggested, he asked me why I was in Chicago, and he asked me why I didn't apply to the top 2 business schools in the country, which was Northwestern and University of Chicago.
Right.
And I said kind of flippantly, well, I was going to get a degree in a master's in federal income tax. Why, I don't know. Except that I wanted to get this job.
Right.
And so he encouraged me. He asked me if I thought I couldn't get in. Well, I didn't feel like I couldn't get in because by this time I was being pretty successful academically.
Right.
So I applied to both and wound up going to Northwestern, which was great for me because it gave me a lot of practical application. And once I got my master's at Northwestern, they did give me the job while I was getting my master's, and it was probably the best thing I could.
Before you got the master's?
Yeah, they gave me the job while I was getting my master's.
Didn't see that coming.
And it was probably the best thing I could have ever done.
Right.
And it taught me that, there's always two ways you can go.
Sure.
I could have accepted the no.
Right.
And I probably wouldn't be where I am today.
Right, right.
Or I could say, well, I'm not going to accept a no, and I'm going to find a way to get what I want.
Right.
And give them what they want.
Right.
And it worked for me. The result was I wound up leaving them, going to another company, making a lot of money.
Wow.
With great experience, international experience, going places that I would have never ever dreamed of going.
Cool. Very cool.
And then just being able to continue my career. But more importantly, it gave me the resources to be able to do it my way.
Right.
And Chameleon allows me to do it my way. And Chameleon, when we started off out in 2007, it was right before the economic downturn.
I was there, I remember. Clearly.
It was extremely, extremely, extremely painful.
Oh, yeah.
And I just tell you how painful it was.
It's still painful.
Yeah. And everybody in the world told me to quit.
Right.
And my 2 sons were involved in the business, and they were just like, quit. But with my usual tenacity,
right.
I decided I wasn't going to. And
you meant kept going. Oh, yeah, that's what quit means to me. Just keep going.
Right, keep going.
Right.
And today I'm running a very successful company. I didn't lose any employees during that downtime.
Wow.
I really remained as loyal as I could to my employees. I didn't take benefits away. I didn't take salary for 3 years. But I think that what it taught the people around me is nothing is done until you quit.
Right.
If you don't quit,
then
you still have the opportunity. And what I have today, having come through that with a young team of people, is they now have the fire.
Sure.
I can say to them today, hey, we're unstoppable.
Right.
And they feel that because, they know how we struggle to get where we are.
Right.
And yet, as we struggle through it, we start to have record years. And so, it's just exciting. And again, I could have quit.
How many times did you want to?
I always had the vision. So I'm a very spiritual person, and I kept saying, I don't want to do what you don't want me to do. So if you really don't want me to have this business, please just make it painfully clear to me.
Right.
So I kept
Does that
saying,
sound familiar?
I'm really not resisting.
Right.
I just need you to make it painful.
Yeah, I'll go wherever you want me to go. I'll do whatever you want me to do. Right.
Because I do believe if you have integrity and if you do it right, then right will come.
Right.
Well, it was interesting because I would kind of flippantly say, look, if you don't want me to have this business, just make it clear to me.
Right. Burn the building to the ground. Do something.
Well, one day I was sitting over on Anderson, and I was talking to my coach. And he said, well, Carolyn, do you really think God wants you to have this business? is this in it for you?
Right.
Do you think this is what he wants for you? And I went, well, I just wish he'd give me a sign.
Right.
Get in my car.
Right.
Drive. We were right on Eagle Trail, so less than 2 miles away.
Right.
Drive to this 2 miles and walk into my business. And my reception says, there's someone on the phone who wants to talk to you about an opportunity. Okay, I take it.
Right.
Well, it winds up being a really significant opportunity. So
Right.
you think
Right.
I'd say, there's your signal.
Do I have your attention? Yes, you got it.
But I was excited.
Right.
And a couple more times I went through this. Look, if you don't want me to
Right,
have this
right,
business.
right.
And finally it was like something just kind of slapped me and said, look, stop asking me
Right.
whether I want you to. How many more signs
Right.
do I have to give you?
Right.
Just focus on getting it done.
Right.
And so that's what I did. And it was like once I got really focused, hey, he wants you to have it. Just do it right and go ahead.
Right.
It's just been a great ride. It's been an exciting ride. And
That's when you got your cape.
yes. And, of course I couldn't do it. I couldn't be here today without clients.
Sure.
And, when we struggled, again, our clients had two choices.
Mm-hmm.
They could walk away.
Right.
Or they could stay and help.
Right.
And unanimously, our clients stayed. All of them would say, well, what can we do to help? And of course, sometimes when you're struggling, it's hard to know. It's hard to think through
Right.
what people can do to help.
Right. Well, you're so in your own
Yes.
head, nightmare, whatever you want to
Yes.
call it. Yeah.
So some of our customers said, well, we can pay you quicker. Well, guess what happens?
Sign up for that program.
Well, that takes some of the pressure off.
Sure.
So many of our clients did that. But more importantly, our clients went out and they talked about the level of service that we provided.
Right.
And that we did what we said we were going to do. And when they handed the project to us, they knew it was going to get done and get done right. And guess what? Other people started to come.
Right.
So, I'd like to say that it was me. But it really wasn't.
Right.
It really was having people who believed in us,
Right.
having customers who believed in us, having employees who believed in us.
Right.
It was painful for my employees
Yeah.
because I wanted them to know exactly where we were.
Right.
So I told them.
Right.
And sometimes I was like, I hope they don't run out.
Right.
But at least they knew.
Sure.
And I felt that it's easier for people to deal with what they know.
Yeah.
And so.
Well, because then they're not imagining.
No.
Your
yes.
imagination is way worse than facts.
Right. Just the facts. And so, I've had a lot of great life experiences.
Right. Right.
And just feel excited to be leading Chameleon today.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It's one of the things that is really rewarding for me to meet business owners like yourself is there's this mysticism in America that all successful business owners are money-grubbing thieves. I haven't met that guy yet, and I've been self-employed for 15 years. I haven't met that woman, that man, that business owner ever in 15 years, the money-grubbing thief. Maybe they're out there. They must be, But I haven't met that person because everybody that I know that has a successful business does things like not take a salary, does things like transparency with the employees, does things like make sure that everyone knows what's going on and where they're at and what the obstacles are and what the goals are, and let's work together and try to achieve these things. I haven't met that money-grubbing thief that treats everyone badly, robs everyone, and is successful. I don't know how you pull that off.
Right.
Like, that's got to be the greatest magic trick in the history of time.
Right.
Because I don't see how you can do that, And I've been out with people before, and I'll be out somewhere, or maybe even on my boat with a friend of mine, and they'll say, "Man, I really like your boat." And I say, "Yeah, I really like my clients." Because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have the boat, I wouldn't have the truck, I wouldn't have the house, I wouldn't have all this gear, this production set. I wouldn't have anything in my life if it wasn't for the clients. So when you put the clients and helping people above everything else, and it takes maturity. It takes time. And, I came from nothing. I didn't have anything as a kid. So everything means something to me. I didn't have anything as a kid. My life is way better than I ever hoped it could possibly be, because I didn't have any hopes for what it could possibly be. So I'm so far past my expectations that every day is a blessing, and I wake up and I'm like, I'm just like everybody else. I have my good days and I have my bad days, but I never forget how good I still have it, Like yesterday, there's something going on in the universe where everything is just going wrong. I can't, I'll go to the office without my laptop or, like just stupid stuff. And you're like, how is this, like, how are 10 of these things happening in one day? But then you have to look up and go, hey, you know what? I'm healthy. I'm alive. My kid is healthy. I'm still here. My business is working, So it's really rewarding to hear that kind of stuff from, coming from somebody else. How do you guys, other than word of mouth, how do you guys get the phone to ring? How do you get orders? How do you get new clients? I understand you have a storefront now, which probably going to help tremendously in that avenue.
Yes, I hope so. The storefront is new for us.
Yeah.
It's a little bit scary.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Because it's not something that we are used to. But how do we get clients? Well, up until 2 years ago, it was all word of mouth.
Right.
Last year, we hired a lady who has gone out and aggressively told our story. Her name is Georgiana Strickland.
I love Georgiana.
And I can't say enough good things about her because wherever I go today and I say I'm Chameleon, about 10 people run up to me and they say, oh, I know Chameleon because of Georgiana.
Right.
So,
and how do you not want to do business with Georgiana?
Right.
Like you almost like as soon as you meet her, you want to pull your checkbook out. Can I do something for you?
So, it's really, I believe that one of the most important things is the human touch.
Absolutely.
My son Christopher is the director of sales in our company.
That's the tall, dark, and handsome guy.
That's
right?
the tall, dark, and handsome guy.
Good looking dude.
And, values are extremely important.
Sure.
You always have to do what you say you're going to do. Right. People have to trust you.
Yeah.
And so I've really instilled that in him, but also in my staff. We are, whatever we put out there is us.
Yeah.
So, so I have Christopher who's out talking about Chameleon and hopefully with my passion.
Right.
Because I'm extremely passionate about it.
I couldn't tell.
I'm extremely passionate about customer service. I'm extremely passionate about the quality of the product. It's not uncommon to see me back in our production area inspecting.
Nice.
And it's just because I want to make sure that we never lose sight of the importance of quality.
So many businesses do that. Huge companies.
Yeah, it's easy to lose sight.
Have you heard of Amazon?
Yeah.
That killed Sears?
Yeah.
With their own business model?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Yeah.
Sears, what are you doing?
Yeah, they lost
you got killed with your own business model.
They lost sight.
They lost sight of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've hired a couple new salespeople. We have the store now. We use social media.
Right.
That's really important. We're doing our own promotional campaigns. So
you're doing this video?
Yeah, I'm doing this video.
Yeah.
So again, we want to get our name out. We want to grow. We want to grow.
Right.
Slow growth.
Right.
Because I never ever want to disappoint anyone, so I'd rather not grow so fast that I'm at risk of disappointing.
Well, you got to keep your eye on the product.
Right.
You can't do that when it explodes.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're doing lots of things.
Right.
But most important is just to have people know us for our integrity and our quality, and knowing that it's the most important thing to us is that our customers are successful. And what we know is if we can make our customers successful, then we will be successful.
Absolutely. I jumped off a cliff when I renamed the company the Service Station, because for years it was named after me because all of my clients were people that knew, liked, and trusted me. But in order to grow a business, I can't keep showing up and fixing computers, until I'm 70 years old. I have to back up, look at everything, put some people in the way, back up and look at those people, back up and look at those. I have to look at, the whole picture so that there's someone driving the ship. And I was terrified when you change the name of your company to the service station, if you don't provide service, it's going to be thrown in your face every minute of every day. And I'm happy to say, this company's been around since 2000. We rebranded 3 years ago. There isn't a single negative review anywhere on earth about my company, and I have nothing to do with it. It's not like I'm policing it, or I have a legal team, having these things taken down. There just isn't any, because we will do whatever we have to do for as long as it takes to get you to be happy. Because without that, I don't want people running around all over town. I have to live in this town. I don't want people running around all over town. Rolando did this, the service station did. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to walk into a room and be embarrassed. I don't want people talking about me in a negative way, and I'm still a fairly young guy, and I have a lot of years left in this town, and I would like to continue to move forward with that, so quality is a big thing with me. Service is the, because if you're really killing it in service, pretty much every other problem will take care of itself. And the reason that we went with the service station is it's really the thing no one wants to do. No one wants to be good at service. You do, but the masses are not interested in that business model because it's hard. It's hard to give good service. You have to go that extra mile every time, no matter what, no matter how exhausted you are, no matter how much you want to leave this project or be done with it, you got to keep going. And that's why we went that way. I want to, and that's why we started the SOB interviews, is because I would like to, partner and have the people that are like-minded in my sphere on a regular basis to talk to these people, and because I would like it one day if there was just this organization or this community of service-obsessed businesses in our area to put all the bad businesses, you guys got to go away. Right. You're ruining it for everybody. And I can't stand going somewhere and getting bad service, walking into a store, restaurant, whatever, and never even having eyes put on me. Mm-hmm. I'm here to give you money. Does anyone want this money at all? That drives me crazy.
I know. It drives me crazy.
And maybe if I was 10 or 15, 20 years old, it wouldn't right. drive me crazy. But I'm old enough to remember when people cared. I'm old enough to remember when they looked you in the eye and said something. That was the gospel. Right. That was it. You didn't need legal teams involved and documents and attorneys. That was it. So, what has been the most rewarding part of Chameleon?
Well, I think that as a mom of two sons, I never planned when I was younger, that my two sons would be working with me in a business.
That's cool.
So to have the opportunity to work with them and to teach them a couple things. Again, how important integrity is, to never give up. Mm-hmm. I think has been very, very rewarding, and to see them actually grow in the business.
Right.
A lot of young people today believe that there's a way to make fast money. Mm-hmm. Well, the truth is, there's no way to make fast money, right, unless you're awful lucky.
Right. Or doing something illegal.
Right. Because if there was, right, everyone,
right,
would be doing it.
Right.
What I'm most proud of is that I've been able to teach my sons that you can make money. Mm-hmm. And you can make lots of money. Mm-hmm. And you can write your own ticket.
Right.
As long as you do it right and with integrity and hard work.
Right.
The sky is the limit.
Right.
And I think more important, when I think back to 2011, which was at the end of our real struggle.
Right.
And my sons were like, let's just go do something else. This is too hard.
Right.
And I kept saying, no, I see the vision. What I'm most excited about now is that my younger son has been invited to speak at some universities.
Wow.
And to hear him tell young people, never give up.
Right.
Don't give up on your dreams.
Right.
You have to be able to dream.
Right.
And, you know, if it's really worth having, it's worth working hard for.
Right.
I think that's probably the most rewarding thing for me. I mean, I'm also excited. I love developing young people.
Mm-hmm.
And so you will see me go out and choose young people that I feel I should have a responsibility to develop.
That's awesome.
So at Chameleon, yes, I want Chameleon to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe when I go out and hire a young person, I have a responsibility to give that young person something a lot more than what they had coming in. So when they leave,
right,
they have a lot more than what they had when
right,
they came.
Right.
And that's really exciting to me because when I was young, a lot of people had opportunities to help and develop me, and many of them didn't.
Right.
But think about how rewarding it is when you have touched, and I have, young people who are now running multi-million-dollar companies.
Wow,
and you
that's
could
cool.
say,
right,
hey, I advised them.
Right.
I told, there's one kid, he's not a kid anymore, kid to me, who's running a multi-million-dollar company.
Wow.
And I advised him to do something that actually would hurt me.
Well, that's what it takes.
Because he had an opportunity to either stay and work for me or go someplace else.
Right.
And to go someplace else was going to give him an opportunity for ownership at some point, which I couldn't give him at the time.
Yeah.
And so I think that, you know, running a business is more than running a business. It's running a business. It's developing people. It's
a mini family.
Right. It's contributing to the community.
Yeah.
It's contributing to the community. Even when you don't have the money to contribute to the community, you still contribute to the community.
Absolutely.
Because it's amazing how when you think you have nothing, there's still somebody out there who has less.
Yeah.
And so I think the thing that excites me most is I've had the opportunities to develop.
Right.
I've had the opportunities to give back.
Right.
I've had the opportunities to protect my employees in a down economy when a lot of companies were laying off.
Right.
And so when I look back, I just feel extremely blessed that I've been put in the position to be able to give what I have been able to give.
That's awesome. Well, don't you think that, starting a business, like deciding, I'm not drawing a check anymore, that is such a cliff that most people will never jump off that cliff. Mm-hmm. I mean, now more people do it than ever because they can sit in front of a computer at their house and do whatever. But I'm talking about like what you're doing. You have a shop full of people, like jumping off of a cliff of, I'm actively deciding to not take a check from this company anymore. I'm going to go make my own check somehow through hook or crook, the grace of God. I'm going to do this. But I think what happens is when someone has the courage to do that and they jump off that cliff, and then the challenges that come after jumping off that cliff, you kind of get almost fearless because you know that no matter what has happened, you're still here, and then what happens is when you get fearless, you are able to do things, like you said, help people in a way that will directly hurt you because it's the right thing to do. And you wish to God someone's along the way had done it for you. And you're sitting there with this opportunity. You see this peg, and all you got to do is put the round thing in the peg, and the peg is a complete puzzle. And to not do that is really bad karma, call it whatever you want. It's really not the right thing to do. So I totally see, understand your point, and I've done the same thing myself many times over the years. I help, as many people as I can, not looking to gain from it. If I gain from it, great. That's not the goal. The goal is to help people, because at the end of the day, no matter what you own, no matter how much stuff you go through, that's all irrelevant, really. At the end of the day, like, who did you help? How did you make a difference in the world? Were you born, you flatlined and died, or were you born and you had a couple of ups and downs on the, and touched some people and helped some people, and that's really the stuff that matters. And it's really awesome to hear all that stuff come out of your mouth. It was really great. So your sons, what are their plans? Are their aspirations much bigger than yours, or are you holding the reins, or what's happening there?
Well, I'm going to turn over the reins.
Oh, wow. Are they ready?
they're very close to ready.
Oh, very cool.
They've learned a lot in the last 7 or 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
My older son has some other business ventures that he wants to do and is starting to do those. But I think my youngest son will run Chameleon.
Okay.
And I think he's close to ready to do that.
Right.
And it's very, very, very exciting.
Does that feel like to you, or?
It does, because
You're handing over your baby to
I
your
am.
baby.
I'm handing over my baby to my baby, but it's like I know my baby.
Right. Yeah.
It's not like handing it over
To a stranger. Right.
And the good news is, it's not like they came after we became successful.
Right. They were there for the ride, the whole ride.
They paid in blood.
Right. Yeah.
And, so it's amazing what you learn when you're in the storm.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you don't learn anything when times are good.
Right.
There's nothing to learn.
Right.
Yeah.
But when you're in the storm, you learn a lot.
Yeah.
And you learn what you would do differently next time. So
and you learn people. You really learn people in a storm.
Right.
You really see who this person really is, or what they're made out of, or what they're capable of.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So, I'm excited that I think they are to the point where, a lot of times they do run it without me.
Right.
So, and I'm someone who has always believed that, children don't grow up overnight.
Right.
You develop them along the way.
Yeah.
So as they were growing up, I developed them to be an adult. I didn't wait till they were 18 and say, "Oh, you were a child, now you're an adult."
Right.
So, this was a transition.
Sure.
Well, the same thing is happening with the business. When we started the business, I wouldn't say they could run it.
Right.
But over the time that, we've been working in the business, I would say that they definitely can run it. And, when we talk about businesses changing, you have to hire young people.
Oh, yeah.
Because
you gotta
business
refresh
is
the crowd.
changing.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
believe me, young people bring things that if you don't hire them, you won't have.
Right. Absolutely.
And so, I continue to hire. My youngest son is 32. That's pretty young.
Right.
To be able to run a company, a multi-million-dollar company, which is what we are.
Yeah.
But I've got 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds, and they're in really strategic spots.
Right.
We are coaching them with professional coaching.
Nice.
So, again, I think that my young team is unstoppable with or without me.
Nice. We just did an interview where the speaker was mentioning how important training and professional coaching is. How did you stumble onto that?
Well, back in 2011, we were struggling, and I wanted to do coaching. I started actually and just couldn't afford it.
Right.
And then a year ago, my son went to a seminar, and it was a sales seminar. And he was so impressed with the speaker that he said, this is something we should look into. And we did, and it was Action Coach. Which, by the way, Action Coach was who I had gone to back in 2008. So it's kind of interesting that he didn't realize that I had done this in 2008. But we were at first hesitant because Action Coach wanted us to sign a year contract, and we were like, oof. But I wanted to do it, so I said, we'll start out.
And this was business coaching,
business.
life coaching? Okay.
It was business coaching.
Okay.
And no matter how good you are,
Mm-hmm.
someone on the outside will see things that you will never
Fresh
see.
pair of eyes.
That's exactly
Fresh pair
right.
of eyes. Well, we're all swimming around in our own aquarium.
Right.
Yeah.
So Ford Kais is our coach, and he has done a tremendous job of helping us to do what we knew we should do,
Right.
what we know we should do.
Accountability.
Yeah. I mean, we're busy.
Right.
And so if you don't have someone saying, I'm going to show up on Wednesday, and no matter how busy you are,
Right.
I still need that plan.
Right.
I still need those financials.
Right.
I still need to know what your 5 actions are going to be.
Right.
It's hard to do it.
Oh, yeah.
So he coached me and my 2 sons first, and now I have him doing some coaching. We develop scorecards for all of our employees.
Oh, cool.
And which means that
they get gold stars on the wall in front of everybody.
They get gold stars. We do a lot of recognition at our company. But more importantly, if you want people to do a job, you have to be clear about what it is you want them to do.
Yes.
And so these scorecards really lay out
right.
what our expectations are of our employees.
Right.
And then we can measure against them. We believe in bonus and lots of incentive things. And so in previous years, we paid the bonus, and we kind of sit in the room and said, okay, well, who should get what bonus?
Sure.
But we wanted it to be a lot more structured.
Right.
We're doing profit sharing now.
Nice.
And so we want people to earn their profit sharing. And so these scorecards say, okay, here are your goals.
Right.
And now we can go at some point and say, how did you do against these goals?
Right.
And then that's how they're going to be getting their profit sharing.
Well, it's amazing how productivity goes up when the pay increases.
Yes.
And that's the business model that I think for the new version of our American economy is really what more companies need to look at.
Well, and also helping the employees understand that each one of them plays a critical role
right.
in the success.
Right.
In our business, there's machines and there are humans,
right.
and humans can make mistakes.
Sure.
We hope they don't,
right.
but they can.
Sure.
So what I encourage my employees to do is make sure that you check everything thoroughly before you touch it. Assume it's wrong.
Right.
And, if it's right, great.
Right.
Well, that eliminates a lot of spoilage.
Right.
Okay, well, that impacts your bottom line.
Right.
Well, if you're profit sharing now, you
right.
get more profit sharing.
Right.
Just making sure that everybody's efficient.
Yeah.
Because I tell my employees, well, if we're not busy, it's better for you to go home.
Right.
Because you're still going to get the money. It's
right.
just a matter of, do you get the money while you're standing here doing nothing,
right.
being inefficient?
Using up resources.
Right. Or are you going to get the money
right.
for doing nothing?
Right.
Because we're very efficient.
I love that you said assume that it's wrong. One of the things that I train techs with when I first get a tech is when you're in front of the customer or on the phone with them, whatever, ask them however many questions you think you need to ask them to quasi understand what it is they want. And then just assume all that information is bad information. But at least you ask, because you look interested, you look like you care, and all this other stuff, which are all essential elements to helping a customer making them. But in what we do, people don't know, and they just tell us whatever, and they're 100% sure that what they're saying is correct. So ask anyway, but then just assume all that information is wrong and do your own research. And with that, we have a better checks and balances system. Instead of chasing what they told us was the problem for an hour, when the problem was actually right here the whole time. And you don't have to bill people for wasted time and quality. That's so cool. There's so many things that I learned today. This is a good interview, right? I really like this.
Okay.
I think we're almost done. What is your number one way to stay on the radar with your customers? Like you might have a customer that you only deal with once a year, but if you only talk to them once a year, that's not enough, I don't think.
No. Well, we use phone calls.
Mm-hmm.
We use surveys after we ship a product.
Do they get filled out? The
Yeah.
surveys? Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes we make an offer to get the survey back.
Okay. That's a good idea.
Because the survey is important.
Sure.
Sometimes a customer wouldn't pick up the phone and necessarily tell you if they weren't happy, but if you call them and ask them, they'll tell you.
Right.
The customer's
Right.
saying.
Right.
I'm trying to get out and do more speaking, and so is my son.
Right.
To just talk about our company,
Mhm.
and word of mouth through our customers really is the biggest.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Always.
that truly is having our customers tell someone else about us.
Right.
We have a little program now where if a customer spends a certain amount of money, we send them a globe that says your business means the world to us. And we keep that on their desk.
That's cool.
It's so little special touches.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Some of our legal clients we send bagels to once a week.
Right.
So we do a lot of little things. We send mints out.
Right.
Just to stay in front of our clients.
Your mints are everywhere, just
Yeah.
so you know. They're everywhere. I don't know how many boxes of mint you had made, but they are everywhere.
I know, but that's how we get our name out.
Mintopolis.
I have one in every purse.
Nice. Yeah, because we go to events all the time.
You
And,
see our mints.
yeah, your mints are everywhere. That's awesome. Is there anything that we didn't cover that you would either like your potential clients to know about you, you would like to reassure with your current clients, or that you would just generally like to cover that we didn't cover?
Well, for my clients as a reminder and prospective clients,
Right.
I think the most important thing is if you're going to spend the money, make sure it works. So test it.
Right.
Do your research.
Right.
If it doesn't work, don't go out and spend a bunch of money on something that's untested. I believe that if you just take that one step, test, and test, that whether you're working with us or someone else, you're going to get much better returns on your investment than you will if you just create a piece and send it out.
What does a test look like? Like how many times? Like how many pieces, or what length of time? Like what is an effective test in your industry?
Let me give you a good example.
Mm-hmm.
I met with a smaller client last week,
Mm-hmm.
and he said they're an insurance company,
Mm-hmm.
and he wanted to send out 3,000 pieces of mail.
Okay.
Okay, great. Who do you want to send it out to? Everybody in the zip code. Great. Well, are you going to sell all of your products to everybody in the zip code? No.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we wound up buying actually a 20,000 list, 20,000 piece mail list.
Mm-hmm.
But of that 20,000 pieces, we decided that he was going to do a seminar.
Mm-hmm.
That was his offer on Medicare.
Okay.
And so we went through that list. We looked for people that were 64 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Why send a mail piece to someone in the zip code who's 21?
Right.
If you want to talk to them about Medicare.
Right.
So
premature.
Right. So I wound up suggesting that he send a piece that was 800 pieces versus 2,500 pieces. Now, in that case, we didn't get to test it because we were like, but just think about it. Had I not come along,
Right.
A typical printer, he said 2,500 pieces.
There you go.
They printed 2,500 pieces, mailed 2,500 pieces, and there you go. And guess what?
Right.
Of that 2,500 pieces, 1,700 pieces would have landed in people's households that didn't care about Medicare.
Right.
So it really depends on what they're trying to accomplish.
Sure.
And what the bigger scheme of things are.
Right.
But I would say if you're going to test, I would test 10 to 15%.
Right.
Versus 100%.
Right.
And give yourself time.
Right. Very cool. Well, this is the Service Station presents SOBs, and today's SOB was Carolyn Lawson, and it was awesome to hear from you. You really had a lot of great things, and it's clear that you're very passionate about what you do, and that's one of the things that most excites me about meeting people like you, is to see the passion. I think we all need to be surrounded by more passionate people, in our daily lives. Evie helping us out in the studio today.
Hello.
We hope you guys enjoyed it. What is your website domain?
It's www.chameleon, so CHAMELEON -CS.com.
What's the CS? Custom Solutions.
Custom Solutions.
Okay. Chameleon-CS.com. Is that your chosen way of people to get a hold of you guys, or phone number? What's your favorite?
They can go to our website and contact us that way. Our phone number is 813-881-1997. We have a live receptionist.
A real person?
You won't go to a voicemail.
Are they in this country?
They're in this country.
Do they speak English?
And they speak
Wow.
English. And you get a smile when you call.
Wow. That's it. I'm sold. I heard enough. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
You did a great job.
All right.
See you guys next time.